finally have a break in the weather, and I'm so excited because that means that I'm bringing out all of my pastel eyeshadows. I'm getting into the spring eyeshadows, and I am so excited to share with you guys my top eyeshadow palette picks for spring. I have a stack of eyeshadow palettes here. They are from a lot of indie brands actually, and we have some mainstream brands in here, but we're going to be talking about these eyeshadow palettes today. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. If you're new here, my name is Stacy. I have unfiltered makeup opinions, OG, old school tutorials. I also have the unfiltered series. I have the eyeshadow series. And like I said, today we're going to be talking about spring eyeshadow palettes. So let's get into this list. Small version ones, and then I also have some bigger version ones, some companion ones. We have some indie, we have some mainstream. So let's talk about the first eyeshadow palette, which is the Sigma Beauty Enchanted palette. This is actually the half version of the Enchanted palette. It's the 7-pan version, and this features more of a pink color story with a little bit of a purple thrown in there, and then also a duochrome thrown in there. I'll actually swatch some of these for you guys so you can see. It's more of a mauve pink color story, but it's absolutely stunning. So if you are the type of person who is into a pink mauve color story for spring, where you just really like dipping into those like pink color tones, this is the perfect palette for you. I do have an affiliate code with Sigma, and it'll save you some money at checkout, and I will post that affiliate code for you guys on the screen so you can see it. This video is not sponsored in any way, but honestly, what can I say about the Sigma Beauty formula is that the mattes are just so easily blendable. They're super pigmented and they just go on the eye just like butter. I've actually compared the Sigma Beauty eyeshadow formula to the Natasha Denona formula. It is a really beautiful formula, and it is just one of the best formulas from Indie Eyeshadow. Their foil shadows are very underrated. They have this like wet look to them, that wet look that Natasha Denona has also been releasing. They have like this wet formula that everybody has been trying to duplicate and just match, and they are just super wet looking, super sparkly, and the foil formula from Sigma is just incomparable to anybody else. They've been doing their like wet foil formula for a while now. It's like their signature formula, and it's one of my favorite like foil metallic formulas that they have. Next, we have another indie eyeshadow, and this is What's Up Beauty, the Geodes palette. I bring this out every single spring just because I love the color story. It still offers some of those mauvier tones in there, but then you have these amazing toppers that are very, very colorful. So you have this like beautiful green, you have this beautiful yellow, you have this beautiful multi-chrome that shifts from a purple to a pink. You have this multi-chrome down here that shifts from a orange to a pink, and it's just such a fun palette to play with. It has a wide variety of shades in here. You can create so many beautiful eyeshadow looks with this palette, and it is definitely, I feel like, geared towards spring, but I've honestly compared it to like it's a really good holiday palette. It's a really good like all around all year palette because it has those neutrals in there that also really just bring your eyeshadow looks to life. And it has such a variety of shades too, from like those mauve pinks to the yellow to the dark brown to even like that olivey green shade. And it's just such a stunning palette. Can't get enough of it. And I always pull it out for spring. This one is also from Sigma Beauty, and it is the Little Mermaid palette. This actually has a range of very colorful shades, but it goes from like neutral to colorful, which I really appreciate because I'm the type of person who likes to dabble in both. I like a little bit of color, but I also like to do neutral eyeshadow looks as well, and this is such a good palette for those options. You have the neutral side, which is a little bit more warm leaning, and as we get into spring, I find that I use a lot of more warm leaning eyeshadows than what I do going into like in the wintertime. I use a lot of like grungy, cool toned eyeshadow spring. It's more warm toned as we get into the summer warm months. So we have warm mattes here, and you filter on into some pastels, and then you get some of these deeper shades. This is truly a stunning eyeshadow palette that has a wide variety of shades in it, and I think they did such an excellent job by including like those mermaidier tones, which are like purples, deep purples, you have like a black, you have a green, you have this like those beautiful warm tones as well that resemble like warm brown sand. My favorite shade in this palette is the shade Seagull, and this is like an iridescent topper, and it is absolutely stunning, super sparkly. This is one of my favorite like one and done shades too that is in this palette, but I also incorporate it into a lot of other eyeshadow looks, and this is just one of my palettes. Like, this is my favorite palette that Sigma has ever released. I mean, I love The Little Mermaid. Like, The Little Mermaid is like my favorite Disney movie, but I also think the collection was just super spot on. The color story was perfect, and it was just such a great release. Let's take a look at some like bright, but also some muted colors. And I honestly, when I was thinking of spring, I actually thought about the Flutter palette from Ensley Rain Cosmetics. This is actually in my Shop My Stash. And this is honestly like it goes bright, but it also has muted tones in here as well. The other day I wore this shade on the inner corner and then I paired it with just like a metallic green and it really made my green eyes pop. But this is such a fun color story because you have an equal amount of mattes in here as you do to the shimmery, duochrome, and multi-chrome formulas. And it goes like you have this awesome orange shade and you could just put this as a topper. You have this gorgeous green shade, you can put this over it, and you can do like 2 and done looks, you can do 1 and done looks with it. And you also have these darker shades in here that are a little bit more muted. If you're the type of person who needs like a muted, more of a muted look, you can do that as well. You can amp it up because it has some darker tones in there and you can make it more sultry and you can make it more fun to play with. It is such a fun palette. This one is from Ensley Rain and I really enjoy their formula. Their multi-chrome shades are just very soft and that's something that I do have to mention. They are super soft, so be careful when you dip into this. But they are a very pigmented formula. They glide on like butter. Like I have another indie eyeshadow palette, and this one is the Dragon Fruit palette from Cleona Cosmetics. This is actually more of a companion palette. Or if you're the type of person who likes a lot of shimmer, a lot of satin, a lot of like glitter and glow, and you don't really like matte eyeshadows, this is a good eyeshadow palette for you. Because this only features multi-chromes, duochromes, and satins, it has no mattes in it. But the multi-chromes, the duochromes, super pigmented, super glittery, super metallic on the eye, and they are just so beautiful to play with. Here are some of the shades here. My best friend got married and she actually ended up using this palette. She used this shade down here for her eyes and also for the highlight on her face, and it just made her like pop and glow and she looked absolutely stunning. It's really fun to play with some of these brighter tones in here. As we're transitioning from spring to summer, you still have some of those pastels in here, but it does offer like pastels. It offers some of those deeper, richer pink tones, but it's all satins, all glitters, all multi-chromes, all foils, and it's just such a beautiful palette to play with. It's one of my favorite eyeshadow formulas, and you can't go wrong with the Dragon Fruit palette from Cleona. They recently repackaged and they relaunched the Dragon Fruit collection, and I got the new packaging, but I have the original launch of the palette. So this I've had around for a while, but I love pairing it with neutral eyeshadows. I could pair it with like something like this. I mean, the possibilities are endless with this eyeshadow palette, and it's so fun. Now, this pastel eyeshadow palette is one that you can find at Juvia's Place. I believe they're still selling it at Ulta Beauty as well, but it is The Garden by Juvia's. I think this is probably one of the most underrated pastel palettes because the mattes in here are really easy to use. They're super blendable. They are actually really pigmented, and they do create either some like very like wash of color looks, or you can get some very bold pastel eyeshadows. I have a video on my channel about how to make pastel eyeshadows work for you, and definitely go check that out, and it features this eyeshadow palette. I like this eyeshadow palette because it has a variety of shades in it. It goes from yellows to pinks to purples. It has some like minty greens in here. And can we say that the way that it's laid out kind of reminds me of Blend Bunny, but this was released before Blend Bunny really became a thing. I love this eyeshadow palette because it has a lot of foils in it, it has a lot of mattes in it, so it's really easy to work with, and it's all colors that just translate so soft on the eyes. So if you're looking for that wash of color, like it really reminds me of like Easter, this is a great palette and it's affordable. and it's at the drugstore. I have a mainstream brand. This is also a new release in 2025, and we have the Natasha Denona Bloom palettes. I have a full review on my channel, first impressions with this eyeshadow palette, where I play with it, I show you swatches. This is just a very peach leaning eyeshadow palette, very monochromatic, but if you're the type of person who likes peaches, who likes pinks, and who likes to be a little bit neutral with your makeup, but maybe dabble in a little bit of color, this is a great option for you. There are hardly any browns in this palette. It's actually mostly peaches, like pinkish peaches, reds, and there's like one brown in here. The rest of these are like a burgundy shade, a peach shade, and orangish looking shades. And it is a really fun palette to get like very soft peach eyeshadow looks. You can even get some really nice dramatic, deep, warm peach looks. And it just offers like a beautiful peach toned palette. I like that the pans are also removable, so you can actually remove a couple of the pans if you wanted to, put them into a smaller palette for travel. And it does have some true metallic foils in here, but it also has like this beautiful, like glittery, peachy, shifty, toppery shade. And it's just, it is such a stunning palette. I actually have enjoyed playing with this so much, and I think it's definitely a great addition for spring, and it's just got great quality shadows as well. Another mainstream and from Natasha Denona, I have the Retro Glam palette. This one is actually in my Shop My Stash as well. I chose it for my Shop My Stash because it has a lot of greens in it. It has some of those salmony colors in it, and it has like a burgundy foily shade in here, and it pairs really nicely actually with the Ensley Rain Flutter palette. These two they're in my Shop My Stash, and I specifically picked them because on the day that I'm filming this, we are transitioning into spring. We're actually really close to St. Patrick's Day. So this actually has a really great variety of green, minty shades. I also like the touch of like these like salmony shades in here. They're not quite peachy. They're a little bit more mauvey, but it does have a few shades of that. You have this gorgeous, like reflective white sparkly shade that is just so pretty, and it has almost like a mint tinge to it. You also have this shade here, which is also a little bit more of a nude, almost to like champagne shade, and you have some like really beautiful deeper brown tones in here. This is such a fun eyeshadow palette if you're really into like green to pink and like just like making some really fun spring eyeshadow looks with it as well. I've had a lot of fun using this, and I think it's a great palette for spring. And last but not least, I have the Lore palette from Blend Bunny Cosmetics. This is a little bit older of a palette. It was released a couple years ago, but I love the theme that it is mermaid themed. I love that it is color coded, where it's light to dark, and then you also have it in rows of color. So you have like more of those like mauvier tones here. So it starts with like this very pearlescent, shifty duo multi-chrome shade, and it's like a pink to a green to a purple. This is my favorite shade in the entire eyeshadow palette. Can you tell that it's my favorite shade? Because it's just like so stunning. And I really like that you have a mauvier pinkish shade, and you could do like pretty much a neutral look, and then you could do a green look, you could do a purple look. It does have these pastels in this pastel row. If you want to deepen up a little bit or a lot, you can use those as well. But it really is such a fun palette when you're going into spring and you want some very like bright poppy looks, or if you want just like a very pastel eyeshadow look. It has a great range of shades in this palette, and the formula, the matte formula, is beautiful, and so is the foil formula. The foil formula is very metallic, it's very rich, it's very buttery, and it's very, very reflective on the skin. And like I said, my favorite shade is the pearl shade in that eyeshadow palette. Right, there you have it. My top picks for spring eyeshadow palettes. These are some of my favorites. Most of these you can actually still purchase. I think the only one you can't purchase might be the Dragon Fruit palette, but I believe if it is available on Cliona, definitely check the description box down below, and I hope I get to see you guys in my next video.